Cursed by a demon, a young woman is marked as the destined mate of a powerful alpha whose wolf is more beast than man. She must choose between fear and love, while fighting a curse that could destroy both of them and their entire pack. The night I was marked, the forest held its breath. Shadows slithered across the ground, cold and alive, wrapping around my wrist until fire kissed my skin. When the pain faded, a symbol glowed there, dark, pulsing, whispering promises of ruin. They told me it was a curse. The council wanted me exiled. The people looked at me with fear, but none of them understood. The mark wasn't just mine. It bound me to him, Alpha Kael, the monster wrapped in wolf skin, the man who swore he would never claim me, the beast who could burn the world with his rage. Now, every beat of my heart drags me closer to him, to love, to destruction, to a fate written in shadows. And I don't know which will kill me first, the demon's curse or his rejection. All stories shared on this channel are originally written, narrated, and produced by PulseOfLore. They are created with unique ideas, cultural inspiration, and personal creativity. Copying, re-uploading, or reproducing our stories is strictly prohibited. Support originality, respect creativity. The forest was not supposed to be entered after sundown. Everyone in Arendelle Pack knew that rule. The trees grew too tall, the shadows too thick, and the silence too sharp for any human or wolf to feel safe once the sun dipped behind the horizon. Aria had always obeyed that rule, until the night her life changed forever. She had gone into the woods to gather herbs. Her mother, the pack's healer, had fallen ill, and the fever poultice needed wild feverfew, which only grew at the roots of the dark elms. By the time Aria found enough and turned back, the sky had already bled into twilight. A shiver ran through her as the wind carried whispers between the trees. Her steps quickened, but something moved faster. A shadow, too solid to be mist, too fluid to be flesh, slithered across her path. The air thickened. A growl, low and otherworldly, rippled through the silence.
Aria froze.
She wanted to run, but her body would not obey. The shadow surged forward and wrapped around her wrist like smoke. Her skin burned as if fire branded her. She gasped, collapsing to her knees. When the darkness receded, it left behind a mark. A black crescent, etched into her skin, glowed faintly before sinking deep into her flesh. Aria cradled her wrist, horror clawing at her chest. She knew enough old stories to recognize what this was. The mark of shadows, a demon's claim. By the time she staggered back into the village, the moon had risen high. Wolves shifted in the distance, howls echoing over the valley. Aria tried to cover her wrist with her sleeve, but the glow pulsed through the fabric, impossible to hide. The first villager who saw her gasped. "The curse," they whispered, backing away. Soon others gathered, eyes wide with fear. Children clung to their mothers. Men snarled as if ready to cast her out. Aria shook her head, tears pricking her eyes. "Please, it's not what it looks like. I didn't." But no one listened. In packs, fear spread faster than fire. By the time her mother found her, the whispers had grown into accusations. Demon touched. Bring bad luck. She must be banished before the curse spreads. Her mother held her protectively, her frail body trembling. "Aria is no demon's bride," she cried, but her voice was weak. The pack council would decide her fate. Aria knew what that meant. If they believed she was cursed, they would exile her, or worse. That night, Aria lay awake, staring at the mark on her wrist. It pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat not her own. She pressed her palm against it, as if she could smother it into silence. But deep inside, she felt something stir. Not just darkness, power, and fate. At dawn, the howls rose again. The Alpha had returned. Kael. Aria's heart sank as she remembered the rumors. The Alpha was cursed too, some said. His wolf was savage, uncontrollable, barely held back by his will. He bore scars no healer could mend. He had vanished for months, leaving the pack in the hands of his council. Now, as the Alpha rode into the village, his presence was like thunder rolling across the earth. Broad-shouldered, black-haired, eyes like burning amber. Kael looked every bit the legend whispered about him. His gaze swept the crowd, cold and commanding. And then it landed on her. Aria's mark flared like fire beneath her skin. She gasped, clutching her wrist. Kael's eyes narrowed, his nostrils flaring. His wolf surged so violently that several villagers dropped to their knees under the force of his aura. In that instant, Aria understood. He was her mate, the cursed Alpha, and the demon had bound them. Aria realizes she's the fated mate of Alpha Kael, the man everyone fears, and the one cursed by shadows like her. The village square grew silent as Alpha Kael dismounted his horse. The air seemed to thicken around him, heavy with his dominance. Wolves lowered their heads, unable to withstand his gaze. His presence was suffocating yet magnetic, and Aria could not look away. She had heard tales of him since childhood. How he had torn through enemies twice his size. How his wolf had gone berserk under the blood moon and left even his own warriors trembling. Rumors painted him as half-man, half-beast, cursed by something darker than the moon itself. And now here he was, standing only a few paces from her, his amber eyes fixed on the glowing mark on her wrist. Who did this? Kael's voice was low, gravelly, carrying both command and menace. The villagers shifted uneasily. Some murmured that it was a demon. Others insisted she had brought it upon herself. Aria tried to speak, but her throat felt dry as ash. Finally, she whispered, "The shadows in the forest. They marked me." Kael's eyes flickered, his jaw tightening. He stepped closer. Every instinct in her screamed to retreat, but her body betrayed her. Instead of fear, she felt heat coil in her chest, something wild stirring inside her. His scent, pine smoke and raw earth, wrapped around her like chains she couldn't break. Mate, the word thrummed in her soul. She could feel it in her bones, in the way her heart raced as if it already belonged to him. Kael must have felt it too, for his nostrils flared, and for a split second his wolf broke through. His pupils dilated, fangs elongating, claws sprouting at his fingertips. Gasps erupted from the crowd. A child whimpered. But then Kael snarled and wrenched control back, shaking as though wrestling a storm inside him. He turned away sharply, muttering, "Take her to the council. Now." 2 guards stepped forward. Aria's mother cried out, clinging to her daughter, but the guards pulled Aria away. She struggled, her wrist burning with the demon's mark, her eyes never leaving Kael. Why was he denying her? Why, when their bond was so clear, did he act as if she were nothing? The council chamber was cold, built of stone that seemed to drink the warmth from her skin. Elders sat in a semicircle, their expressions grim. Kael stood at the head, his arms folded, every line of his body tense. "She bears the mark of shadows," Elder Roran said gravely. "It is a curse. She should be exiled before it spreads."
No.
Aria's mother pleaded, but her voice was weak. Kael's gaze flicked to Aria, unreadable. His wolf paced behind his eyes, restless, angry. He knew what she was to him. She could see it, feel it, but he was refusing to claim her. Finally, Kael spoke. The mark is dangerous. Until I know its purpose, she will remain under guard. The council murmured in agreement. Some nodded in approval. Others looked at Aria with pity, as though she were already condemned. Aria's chest tightened. She wanted to scream that she was innocent, that she hadn't asked for this. Instead, she lifted her chin. I am not a curse, she said firmly, her voice echoing against the stone walls. If the shadows chose me, then I will fight them. I will not run. Kael's eyes burned into hers. For a heartbeat, something flickered there. Pride? Longing? But then it was gone. He turned to the guards. Take her away. That night, locked in a small chamber, Aria sat on the stone floor, her wrist glowing faintly. She traced the mark, wondering what fate had tied her to the alpha who refused her. Her thoughts swirled with anger and confusion, but beneath it all burned a dangerous truth. She wanted him. Outside, howls split the night. Not ordinary howls, violent, ragged, the sound of wolves losing control. Shouts rang out. The guards outside her door cursed and ran. Then she heard it, Kael's roar. Deep, unstoppable. A beast unleashed. The walls trembled as claws scraped against stone. Aria scrambled to her feet, her heart pounding. Something powerful was tearing through the stronghold. And then, the lock on her door shattered. Standing there was Kael, not man, not wolf, but something monstrous in between. His eyes glowed blood red, his fangs bared, his chest heaving as though he could barely contain the beast inside. But the moment his gaze fell on her, the fury in him faltered. His breathing slowed. His claws retracted halfway. His entire body shuddered as though torn between violence and surrender. Aria, his voice was raw, broken. The bond thrummed again, stronger, undeniable. And for the first time, Aria realized the truth. She wasn't just marked by a demon. She was bound to the most dangerous wolf alive. Kael's curse breaks loose, but only Aria's presence can calm him. She begins to understand her role in his darkness. Kael's body shook violently as he stood in the doorway, his chest rising and falling with ragged breaths. He looked like a beast torn between two worlds, his skin rippling as fur threatened to break through. The scent of blood clung to him, sharp and metallic. Somewhere outside, wolves were still howling in terror. Aria pressed herself against the wall, not out of fear for her life, but because the sheer force of his presence was overwhelming. His eyes locked onto hers, wild, blood-red one moment, amber the next. He was fighting himself, and she could feel it through the bond. Stay away, Kael growled, his voice breaking. His claws scraped against the stone, gouging deep marks. I can't control it. But her mark burned hotter the longer she looked at him, pulsing with heat that traveled through her veins. Something inside her whispered that she was the key, that if she stepped forward, she could anchor him. She ignored the fear twisting in her stomach and moved closer. His head snapped toward her, a warning snarl ripping from his throat. Don't! Her hand trembled as she lifted it. Kael, let me try. Before he could retreat, she pressed her palm to his chest. His skin was scorching, his muscles trembling under her touch. At once, the glow on her wrist flared, bright enough to light the chamber. Kael gasped, his eyes flickering rapidly between beast and man. The roar died in his throat. His breathing steadied. The monster retreated, leaving the alpha standing before her. Still scarred, still fierce, but human once more. He looked down at her hand, still resting against his chest, and something dangerous flashed in his eyes. Not anger, not fear, hunger. The bond pulled tight between them, dragging her closer. Her heart raced, not from terror, but from the wild, reckless desire to close the space between them. She could feel his heartbeat under her palm, and for a moment, she thought he might kiss her. But then he ripped himself away, stumbling back as though her touch burned him. "No," he rasped. His voice was hoarse, his hands shaking. "This curse, this bond, it will destroy you." Aria's chest clenched. "You think pushing me away will save me? You're wrong, Kael. The shadows tied us for a reason. You felt it. You can't deny it." "I can," he snapped, his tone harsh enough to slice through her hope. His eyes hardened into steel. "I will never claim you as my Luna. Do you understand?" Her breath caught. The words pierced deeper than any blade. She had expected anger, maybe fear, but rejection? That she had not prepared for. Kael's jaw tightened as he forced himself to turn away. "Stay in this chamber until I decide what to do with you, and pray the bond does not kill us both." The door slammed shut behind him, leaving Aria trembling in the dim light. She sank to the floor, tears threatening to spill but refused to let them. She wouldn't break. Not here, not now. If Kael thought she would accept his rejection quietly, he was wrong. The next day, the council spread whispers of the Alpha's outburst. Some believed Kael had lost control because of her mark, proof she was cursed. Others claimed she bewitched him. When the guards delivered food to her chamber, they wouldn't meet her gaze. Fear clung to them like a scent. She realized she wasn't just fighting for Kael's acceptance. She was fighting for her place in the pack, for her right to live at all. That night, sleep came fitfully. Shadows moved in her dreams again, thick and suffocating. This time, a voice spoke, a deep, taunting whisper that coiled around her like smoke. "You are bound, little Luna, bound to the beast who cannot tame himself. When he falls, you fall. But if you surrender to me, the bond can be broken." Aria gasped awake, her wrist searing with pain. The demon's words lingered in her mind. Bound. When Kael falls, she falls. She pressed her hand over her mark, her determination hardening. If the demon thought he could control her fate, he was wrong. If Kael thought rejection would protect her, he was wrong too. The shadows had chosen her, but she would decide what to do with that choice. Aria refuses Kael's rejection and resolves to fight the curse herself, even as the demon begins whispering in her dreams. The nights after Kael's rejection grew longer, filled with whispers that gnawed at Aria's mind. The demon's voice seeped into her dreams, smooth and poisonous, like silk wrapping around her throat. "Your alpha will never claim you. He fears you, despises what you represent. But I can free you, little Luna. One word, one surrender, and you will no longer bear the burden of his curse." Aria woke with sweat beading her forehead, the mark on her wrist burning hotter each time. She knew the voice wanted her to break, to doubt Kael. And though his rejection still stung, though her heart bled from the harshness of his words, something inside her refused to yield. If fate had bound them, then there had to be a reason. She would not let a demon dictate her life. On the fourth night, Kael summoned her. The council chamber was lit by torches, shadows flickering across the stone walls. Elders sat in silence, their eyes following her every step. Kael stood at the center, towering, his presence filling the room like a storm. His gaze was hard, unreadable. "Aria," Elder Roran said, his voice sharp, "you have brought a mark of darkness into our midst. The Alpha has restrained himself, but the pack whispers of fear. They demand a resolution." Aria swallowed. "And what resolution do you seek?" "Exile," the elder spat, "or death, if the mark spreads." Her mother cried out in protest, but 2 guards held her back. Aria's gaze flicked to Kael. His jaw was clenched, his fists tight at his sides. She expected him to speak, to protect her, but his silence cut deeper than any blade. Something in her snapped. She stepped forward, lifting her wrist so the black crescent gleamed in the firelight. "You call this a curse. I call it a bond. If you fear me, then you are cowards. If you exile me, I will still live. But if you kill me," her voice grew cold, "you kill your Alpha too." Gasps rippled through the council. Kael's eyes widened, just barely, before narrowing into fury. "Enough," he growled, his voice booming. "Aria will not be touched. She remains under my protection." The elders bristled, but none dared challenge him. As the council dispersed, Kael approached her, his expression like a storm contained by fragile walls. "Do not threaten the council again," he hissed. "You would let them condemn me while you stand silent?" She shot back, her voice trembling with fury. "You reject me, but you won't let them touch me. Which is it, Kael? Am I your mate, or am I nothing?" His hand shot out, gripping her wrist. The mark flared instantly, heat crackling between them. His eyes burned with something fierce, dangerous. "You are my weakness," he growled, "and that will get us both killed." Before she could answer, he stormed away, leaving her with a racing heart and the bitter taste of his words. That night, the demon came again. "He rejects you. He fears you. Come to me and I will sever the bond. No more pain. No more weakness." Aria shook her head, her voice steady even in the dream. "I will never belong to you." The demon's laughter echoed like 1,000 blades scraping stone. "Then you will burn with him." The demon makes his first direct offer to Aria, but she refuses, while Kael calls her his weakness. Torn between desire and fear, the tension in the village grew thicker with each passing day. Wherever Aria walked, whispers followed. Children were pulled away from her path. Warriors watched her like a hawk. Only her mother offered comfort, though her health grew weaker by the day. But not everyone avoided her. One wolf in particular, Beta Corin, seemed almost too eager to linger near. He was Kael's second in command, ambitious and charming in a way that made Aria uneasy. "You should not endure this," Corin said one evening as he found her outside the healer's hut. "Kael may protect you, but he will never claim you. The council sees it. The pack sees it. Why tie yourself to a doomed alpha?" Aria stiffened. "Kael is not doomed." Corin's smile was sharp. "Perhaps, but even if he were, the pack must survive. And that means choosing a Luna untainted by shadows." His eyes glinted as he lowered his voice. "Choose me, Aria. I would protect you, cherish you. You deserve more than rejection." Revulsion coiled in her stomach. She turned away, her voice cold. "I am Kael's mate, and I will never betray him." Corin's smile slipped, replaced by something darker. "Then you are a fool." That night, as Kael held council with his warriors, Aria wandered near the training grounds. She did not see the shadow that slipped behind her, nor hear the whisper of steel until it was too late. A blade pressed to her throat. Corin's voice hissed in her ear. The pack will not follow accursed Luna. Better to rid them of you now. Her heart raced. She tried to struggle, but his grip was iron. She thought it would be the end, until a snarl ripped through the night. Kill. He slammed into Corin with the force of a storm, claws tearing, teeth bared. The beta cried out, scrambling back as Kael's wolf nearly tore him apart. Only Aria's cry stopped the alpha from delivering the killing blow. Breathing hard, Kael stood over Corin, his chest heaving. You dare touch what is mine? He thundered, his aura shaking the earth itself. Gasps erupted among the gathered wolves. The words hung heavy in the air. What is mine? Aria's heart pounded as she met his gaze. For once, Kael had not denied her. After Corin's betrayal, Kael finally calls Aria mine before the entire pack. But can he accept what that means? That night, under the full moon, Kael summoned Aria to the cliffs overlooking the valley. The wind was sharp, carrying the howls of distant wolves. For once, he did not wear the mask of a cold alpha. He looked raw, haunted, his scars stark under the silver glow. You shouldn't have stopped me, he said quietly. Corin deserved death. You would have lost control, Aria replied gently, and the pack would fear you even more. He turned to her, his amber eyes burning. They already fear me. Do you not? Her heart raced, but she held his gaze. No, I see you, Kael. The man, not just the beast. For a long moment, silence stretched between them. Then, almost brokenly, he whispered, You are my mate, my bond. And yet, every time I feel you close, the beast inside me claws to get out. If I claim you, Aria, I could destroy you. Her breath caught. The pain in his voice was real, the torment carved into every line of his face. She reached out, taking his scarred hand in hers. Or you could heal. With me. If the shadows bound us, then maybe it wasn't to destroy us, but to save us. His hand tightened around hers, his body trembling with restraint. Slowly, Kael pulled her close, his forehead pressing to hers. The bond surged, fierce and undeniable. For the first time, Kael did not pull away. He kissed her. It was desperate, consuming, a clash of fire and shadow. Aria melted into him, her heart racing, her wrist burning with light. For one perfect moment, there was no curse, no fear, only them. But when they broke apart, Kael's eyes were dark, his voice rough. If we continue this, there is no going back. Aria's answer was simple. Then don't stop. Kael finally admits his feelings and kisses Aria, but warns their bond could unleash forces neither can control. The nights following their confession were anything but peaceful. The demons struck at the pack, sending shadow creatures, twisted forms of wolves with glowing red eyes, into the borders. Warriors returned bloodied. Some did not return at all. Fear spread like wildfire. Kael fought relentlessly, but the shadows grew bolder. Aria discovered something strange. Whenever she was near him in battle, the mark on her wrist glowed bright, and the shadow creatures recoiled as if burned. She was not only Kael's anchor, she was a weapon. But every time she used the mark's light, she felt her strength weaken, as though her life was being drained drop by drop. Kael noticed. One evening, after a brutal fight, He caught her as she nearly collapsed. His hands cupped her face, his voice rough with fear. "You're killing yourself. Every time you use that power, it takes from you."
Aria smiled weakly.
"Then let it take me if it means saving you." "Don't say that!" he roared, his wolf breaking through, eyes blazing. "I will not lose you, Aria. I would burn the world first." She touched his cheek, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. "Then fight with me, not for me. Together we can end this." His silence was his answer. He didn't believe it. Not yet. Aria learns she can fight the shadows with her mark, but at the cost of her own life force, leaving Kael torn between protecting her and needing her power. The demon's assaults escalated. Shadow creatures poured into the valley, pushing the pack to its limits. Kael fought like a god of war, but his wolf grew more unstable with each battle. Sometimes he tore through enemies like lightning, other times he nearly struck his own men. Only Aria could bring him back. One night, as he lost himself in the frenzy, tearing into friend and foe alike, Aria ran into the battlefield. Her voice cut through the chaos. "Kael, look at me." He spun toward her, eyes red, jaws dripping with blood. For a terrifying moment, she thought he would attack her. But when her hand touched his chest, the glow burst forth, and the beast in him broke apart like mist. He collapsed to his knees, trembling. Aria knelt with him, holding him as his breath came in ragged gasps. "You are not a monster," she whispered fiercely. "You are my alpha, my mate, and I will never fear you." The pack, watching from a distance, saw what she had done. For the first time, they began to look at her not with suspicion, but with awe. Aria proves to the pack she can tame Kael's beast, gaining their respect. But the demon's fury grows stronger. The blood moon rose, red and ominous, filling the sky with its curse. That night, the demon appeared fully, stepping out of the shadows like a man carved from smoke and flame. His eyes glowed crimson, his smile sharp. Aria and Kael stood before him, the pack trembling behind. "Such devotion," the demon purred. "Little Luna, do you not see? Your alpha is broken. If you truly love him, sever the bond. Free him from me. Free yourself." Kael snarled, stepping protectively in front of Aria. But the demon's laughter shook the earth. "Without me, his wolf will consume him. Without her, you will burn." A delicious paradox. He stretched a hand toward Aria. "Choose, girl. Save your alpha by giving him up, or keep him and watch your pack drown in shadow." Aria's heart ached. The choice tore at her soul. She looked at Kael, saw the fear he tried to hide, the torment in his eyes. He would rather die than see her suffer. But she was done letting the demon decide their fate. "I choose neither," she said, her voice steady as steel. "We fight. Together." The demon's smile faltered just as Kael seized her hand. The bond flared brighter than ever, light and shadow colliding in a blinding storm. Aria rejects the demon's final temptation, standing with Kael to face the ultimate battle under the blood moon. The battlefield became chaos as the demon unleashed his full power. Shadows swarmed like waves, crushing warriors beneath their weight. Kael roared, shifting fully, his wolf a monstrous blend of fury and strength. Aria stood beside him, her mark blazing, her light cutting through the darkness. Every strike weakened her, but she held firm. Her love for Kael burned brighter than the shadows. Together they carved a path toward the demon. The demon's laughter shook the sky. "You cannot kill me. I am eternal." "Maybe," Aria shouted, her voice fierce, But you cannot kill love. She and Kael pressed their palms together, their bond surging. The light exploded, consuming the demon in a blaze of fire and shadow. His scream tore through the night before silence fell. The pack emerged from hiding, staring in awe. Kael shifted back, scarred and bloodied, but free. The darkness that had haunted his eyes was gone. He pulled Aria into his arms, his voice raw. "You are mine, Aria. My Luna. My salvation." She smiled, though exhaustion weighed her down. "And you are mine, Kael, cursed or not." The pack knelt, howls rising in unison, not in fear, but in loyalty. Aria was no longer the cursed girl. She was their Luna, Luna of shadows, savior of the pack. As the blood moon faded, Kael kissed her deeply, sealing their bond. Whatever battles lay ahead, they would face them together. And for the first time, the shadows no longer frightened her. They belonged to her. The story rests here, but another will rise soon. Be here when it does. Till then,